Welcome back. We are ready to head into the next game. We are actually going onto Hilly Plateau. We are going to look at Fresh McEgg, also known as Mephi, and he is going to take on Robogear. So let's get straight into the action and see how this is going to play out. This should be a good one. Okay, we have got Hilly Plateau, and this of course is the ultimate map, which means it is adaptive to the numbers of players. So in this case we are looking at 1 versus 1, and that is cool enough, but it is going to be a lot of reclaim for just one player. In any case, we have got Mephi or Fresh McEgg. Maybe that's Fresh McEgg Muffin, I don't know. In any case, he has gone UEF. He's going to grab adjacency for his first land factory on the Hydro. Then he's going to go and grab those extra 3 mass extractors, and the first engineer out of the gates will be going for that Hydro. We are seeing a double adjacency play here for Robogear, who is also going UEF. So we have a UEF mirror matchup. Guile would be proud. He is going to get double adjacency. He's going to put his first mixes down and then go and grab that Hydro as well. We can tell by the lack of power in his early build. There goes the engineer now, and the Hydro is underway. The ACU is now assisting. So that's exactly the same play we're seeing on both sides. The Hydros will be finished at pretty much the same time, I would suggest. Alright, now if we look at the control shift command, we can see just the ridiculous number of reclaim. Normally there is enough reclaim to feed all 4 players when you have a 4 versus 4 on this map, but these guys are going to be pulling up all of that reclaim themselves, so we can expect a absolute ton of engineers rolling around the map, causing all sorts of havoc and pulling up all of those rocks, destroying the environment. I hope we don't have any eco-protesters on the planet that Hilly Plateau happens to be on, but in any case we'll be fine because we can start the map over and they're all back again. It's magic. Okay, we have got the next land factory underway, so we're actually going second land as well for Mephi. He could be going to use that as an extra engineer factory as well, because they just need so many engineers, and it looks like there's a little bit more power going on for Robogear. He's actually up to 160 power compared to the 140 for Mephi if we look at the scoreboard, and he is still going, so he's going to make sure he has got tons of power that is going to enable him to spend all of that reclaim that is going to be rolling into his coffers from all of the engineers dotted around the map. They're going to be all over the place, and we can see a pretty good distribution already. He's got them across to all of these expansions, doing a slightly better job than Mephi, I would probably suggest, at getting engineers out to the far reaches of his empire to pull in resources. Okay, the ACU for Mephi is heading to the center. There is a big stack of mass in the center, which he is obviously thinking about grabbing for himself, and it doesn't actually look like Robogear is quite on the same binge for mass. He's going to leave it up to his engineers while he sits back at home building power with his ACU. There is a lot of power in there actually. That is a massive power differential, 240 to 160 on the scoreboard, and he is not done yet. There's still one just finished and another one planned. That is going to give Robogear, well, hopefully he's thinking enough power to build a stack of air as well as spend all of the mass that's coming in from those engineers, and he's actually doing a little bit better. He's sitting on 21 to the 17 mass per tick. Let's just have a quick look at the reclaim figures this early on. Mephi sitting on only 297, 300 odd mass, and actually Robogear looking exactly the same. So these guys not focusing just yet on pulling up mass, they are still actually just expanding. That is probably because they have got plenty of mass in their buffers. We can see there's 240 there and 190, so they're not out of mass yet. They don't actually need to start reclaiming. Okay, we've got the first scout out for Robogear. He's going to head across and find out where Mephi is. He's about to find out that Mephi is actually in the center, and he wants that middle all for himself, because we all know Mephi is pretty greedy. He wants all of the mass on all of the maps, and he is not going to stop now. He's going to get a little bit of reclaim. He's actually going to have to dance a little bit with his ACU to pull up the reclaim that is blocking his factory build, and now after a little bit of a walk, he is able to start putting that factory down. That's going to give him a ton of engineering building capacity in the middle there to pull up that mass. Robogear still in the lead, 35-31, so just a couple of mixes in it, but still a pretty handy lead in terms of power. Mephi does have his own air factory up. He has got at least one interceptor. In fact, I think he's got exactly one interceptor. That is going to be really helpful if it comes time to defend against the bomber, unless of course Robogear can get in and take that interceptor out. And he may actually be able to do that a little bit more effectively because he's got the scout hovering around, and for some reason Mephi hasn't denied that scout yet. He is actually just going to hover around and, well, bring that interceptor completely out of the picture and let the scout just keep on scouting for longer and longer. There we go. Thank you, Mephi, for taking out that scout and denying that free intel to Robogear. Okay, how many factories have we got going up? We should see them all over the map. We have got back here, we've got 6 at home and a couple more planned. We've got 1 at this expansion, 1 planned at that expansion. I think we should have 1 planned back here. Yeah, so we've got a pretty good stack of factories, and Mephi, in comparison, he's probably not planning on building too many outlying factories. We don't see the same kind of building out on the fringes. He seems to be more concentrated around the center here so that he can spew forth T1 units and try and out spam Robogear. These guys have got a ton of mass early on. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we saw a really early shift to T2, because the cost of T2 factories, not a huge amount of T1 units when you're looking at such a large map, and you've got the opportunity to scout and respond well in advance of your enemy, as long as you're doing a good job of scouting, of course. Which Mephi is doing, because there is a little interceptor cruising around the back here, a little scout I should say. There's an interceptor following him and failing miserably. There we go, another interceptor manages to take him out, but he is going to go around and get a pretty good handle on the expansion plans of Robogear. We can see the units starting to think about making a little bit of contact now. So we've got a couple of strikers coming in here and a couple of strikers coming in here. Slight numerical advantage in the particular vicinity to Mephi. He should be able to destroy those couple of strikers, but there are a whole bunch more inbound from Robogear to support, and it looks like Robogear is thinking about not letting Mephi have the center, but unfortunately for Robogear, it's a little bit too late, and Mephi already has the center and all of the mass that goes with it. We can just see that ridiculous amount of mass floating around there. He's going to throw down a Tech 1 point defense just to try and hold everything back a little bit, but it seems like it might be just a little bit too late. Alright, and he's actually going to have to pull back, I would suggest here, because he's actually starting to get overrun by a couple of T1 units. He doesn't have a lot of support in the immediate area. If Mephi was to be able to bring a bunch more T1 units, he could probably trap Robogear's ACU right now, but as it stands, the half a dozen T1 units don't stand a chance against the ACU, but they did manage to distract him for just a little while. Looks like Robogear is thinking about pushing a bit on the left-hand side of the map now. He has actually got a pretty good concentration of units. He has got what looks like 15, maybe even 20 tanks ready to go there, and that is a pretty good advantage over what Mephi has got. He could actually punch all the way back into the back of Mephi's base right now, and Mephi would have to pull a bunch of units away from his production to be able to defend against that. Although, of course, if he brings them in little separate groups, one by one, we can see them streaming in a line. If they run into a dense group of Mephi's units, they are goners. That is not necessarily the best plan, and it looks like Mephi is going to be able to come in. He'll be able to take out the little group of 6 in here, then he'll be able to take out the group of 2, and then come across and take these guys out one by one. So a bit of a formation fail there from Robogear. He probably needs to pull those guys a little bit closer together, get a more dense amount of firepower, and then he can push forward, because he still has the overall numerical advantage. He just can't walk them in one by one. Looks like Robogear is having to concede the center a little bit. It looks like Mephi is actually going to roll up with his ACU. There are a bunch of tanks in support as well. Robogear is going to think about fighting, but he is going to have to keep moving back, and there's even a couple of Lobos in the mix, and every time the ACU takes one of those Lobo hits, it takes a pretty big chunk of HP off the armor, so that is a bit of a problem. He needs to back on up a little bit and get a bunch of these units in support. Let's just have a quick look at the total counts here, because it is a bit hard to see across the entire map. 64 strikers for Robogear, and for Mephi 57, so overall pretty even. So it's definitely going to come down to the concentration of where the units are and whether they're running directly into point defense or not, because over here Robogear forgot to bring any Lobos and he's going to run straight into a Tech 1 point defense. Also, the T1 bombers from Mephi are going to cause a little bit of a problem for him. There is a single T1 mobile anti-air in that mix, but it is not going to be able to do too much. Unfortunately, Robogear not able to affect anything with that assault. He did manage to get through the outer lines for Mephi, but not really getting any progress. We can see there in the chat there is a T2 upgrade on Mephi's ACU. Where is his ACU? Still in the center. There it is. So he's going to go ahead and grab that T2 upgrade. That's going to give him the ability to put triads down in the center. That is going to be a big problem for Robogear because he doesn't have any T2 yet. What has he got? He's got a T2 mix, but that doesn't really count. He has got... No, yes he does. There we go. There is the T2 HQ. So he could possibly build flapjacks to try and respond to Tech 2 point defense. He could maybe go for T3. I don't know. There's a lot of mass these guys have got. Well, there's still a ton of mass that hasn't been scooped up yet. Let's just have a quick check on the ecos. So 63 for Mephi, 65 for Robogear. So looking very, very even. And in terms of reclaim, we've got 14,000 for Mephi, and for Robogear we've got only 4,000. What is going on here? That is a ridiculous differential. There's an extra 10k there for Mephi. Where has all of that gone? He's got a Tech 2 HQ back here. Is he going straight for Tech 3? No, he's doing absolutely nothing at all with it. That is not necessarily the best use of a T2 factory ever, but he is going to throw down a Tech 2 power generator. He's also got a bunch of mix upgrades going on as well. Probably just try and get a little bit of an eco lead, and he has managed to get units right up into the back of the base here for Robogear, just causing a little bit of harassment. Robogear actually starting to look a little bit thin on units. He's getting pushed back on the left here, he's getting pushed back in the center, and on the right the numbers are pretty even, but he has conceded quite a lot of territory. Not looking particularly good for Robogear. The scoreboard doesn't suggest there should be that much in it, but it is starting to look that way. We can see there is actually a pillar online, so that is going to be helping Robogear out just a little bit, but it's not going to be able to take on the sheer number of T1 units that Mephi has right now. Robogear managing kind of somehow to hold this on the left-hand side of the map, despite a lack of units. There are a lot of units coming in here from Mephi. It looks like Mephi is just regrouping, and he is going to probably be able to push through. Perhaps not with this wave, but this follow-up wave is probably going to be able to cause a little bit of a problem, especially with this T1 bomber support. Those guys are just coming in and raining death down upon those T1 units. That is not good at all for Robogear. He does bring his interceptors in. He's got a really nice stack of interceptors, but just a little bit too late to prevent a massive amount of damage happening to his army. Alright, the right-hand side is starting to go in Robogear's favour. That is a very poor unit formation from Mephi, leaving himself end-on to the attacking units from Robogear, and he's actually not moving them at all, so they are taking Lobo fire as well. And there we go, there is a response now, but that is going to maybe leave the right flank open, or the right side of the map, Mephi's right flank open. And what is this? This is tac missiles, and oh no, we have forgotten to build tac missile defense. Robogear is now losing his eco that he has worked so hard to build. He's going to start dropping down. He's on 61 mass per tick, and in comes another tac missile launcher. Robogear 1700, unfortunately just forgetting to build the tac missile defense there, and the tac missiles managing to get all the way through there from Mephi, dropping him down to 55 mass per tick. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a problem in terms of the eco game, because Robogear is just that much behind, whereas Mephi is sitting right now. Mephi with that massive reclaim figure Robogear just not managing. We can see just the sheer amount of green dots still on that side of the map, whereas Mephi has cleared out an absolute ton, and he got a lot in the center here. Pretty much all of that mass that was in the center all gone into Mephi's coffers. And we do have some tech defense online. Now he only lost the 2 Tech 2 mass extractors by the looks of it. Hopefully not the end of the world for Robogear. He will be holding on, but Mephi continuing to climb in the eco game. 91 mass per tick right now. That is looking reasonably difficult for Robogear, and there's even a pack of pillars in here. Those guys are going to be able to rip through a large amount of T1 pretty easily. How many pillars are these guys sporting so far? We've got a couple of pillars in the center here, most of them sitting back around base though, so he's sitting on 9 pillars in total. Mephi meanwhile sitting on 24, so a pretty significant HP and firepower advantage there to Mephi, and it looks like he's going to just push up with those guys. He has got an absolute wall of HP, which is going to roll towards Robogear. And unless Robogear can get a whole lot more pillar production online in a whole lot of a hurry, I don't see how he's going to be able to withstand 24 pillars rolling into that right side of the map. He is going to lose all of this T1. In fact, these T1 units are running into those pillars now. We're going to see those evaporate very, very quickly because they just don't have the HP to contend with the 1500 HP on that T2 heavy tank. It looks like Robogear is probably aware now that he is in a bit of a sticky situation. He's going to push in with his ACU. This is his last ditch attempt. He is going all in now, and I don't know that his stack of chips is going to hold up. He's down to 5,000 HP. He is going, looks like straight from Mephi's ACU. No, he's actually just going to suicide, and that is the end of Robogear. So Mephi managing to take him out in 13 minutes here on Hilly Plateau Ultimate.